Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, this time on scenario exit or changing scenarios. So the first thing you need to know is what is a scenario change actually. So if you go to your scenario, so whenever you reach the last phase, you will have an option here which says to change scenarios. So you can actually do this in two ways. One is either you wait for the last phase like I have right here, or if you go to your challenge shop, you can actually buy something called as a scenario exit card, which will actually help you exit the scenario earlier than instead of waiting for the last phase. So obviously the first question or the main question you guys must be having is why should you change the scenario? Now there are a few reasons. One is like, for example, right now I'm in Manowist Novice, so one of the main reasons is there's actually like as of now there's an event called Starfall Inversion which is going on, limited time event, and it is not available in novice servers. So that is why I actually want to change so I can experience the event. Another main reason is that novice servers tend to die up fast. Like for example, if I were to start the Prime War right now, it is highly unlikely that we'll be able to complete it because most of the the hard hitting players and all, most of the players have already switched out from the scenario. And even another reason is like I have already completed all the main storyline, side quest. I was able to beat every single boss solo on pro mode, so there isn't much for me to do more. That's why you might want to switch out from the scenario. So before you sign up, there are some things you need to know before you actually do. So if you go to your scenario description, almost you could say 90 to 95% of whatever you have collected or farmed will actually transfer with you. There are a few things which will not transfer, which I will show you once I actually do the transfer in front of you. But for the items to transfer, there are two rules or two types. The first one is the item inheritance rules. On simple English, I'm going to call this as direct transfers. So whatever is listed over here, so as you can see, like Starchrom, it says Mitsuko's mask, your gear blueprints, formulas blueprints and all. So whatever is listed here will be with you whenever you switch to a new scenario. So from the start, like the get go, you will have access to all of this. Now the other type of transfer is called the Eternaland transfer rules, or in simple English, I'm going to call these indirect transfers. So whatever is listed here, like it says weapon, armor, and your raw materials and all. So these will actually go to your Eternaland, and then from Eternaland, you will have the choice to bring them with you in a new scenario. And the reason I call it indirect is because unlike the direct ones, the item inheritance rules, you will actually have to spend a certain currency and there's a limited amount. So you cannot actually bring everything which is listed in the Eternaland because you will run out of that currency. Once again, when I actually do it in front of you, you'll actually understand a bit more. So this is what you need to know. Like, so there are two types of transfers and almost 90 to 95% of your items will transfer. Obviously the ones which don't transfer are not that very important, so don't worry too much. So now once you are ready to sign up, you could actually sign up right now. But I would actually like to give you some tips that you can prepare beforehand, especially if you're switching out from a easier to a more difficult scenario. So the first thing I think you should do is if you go, let's say if I go to my build menu, and if I show you my, let's say my house over here. So obviously it's not the most pretty house, but my point is that whatever you have built, you have spent a lot of time, especially on mobile, since you are using your hands to build, which can be very annoying. So what I think you should do is in this build manually at the bottom, click on house blueprints, and then click on add blueprint. So you can either, there are two options, you can save all or you can save a single building. So I'm just going to save all since I want to save. And then yeah, see, you can give it any name. So I'm just going to call it my house or something. And you can add some tags or notes. So once you do this, just click on confirm. So yeah, what this will do is this will actually save your entire house. And then you can see it says what all materials and all will cost to build. And as you can see now in the house blueprint menu, I can see there's a blueprint save which is called as my house. Now the reason I do this is because once you shift to another scenario, you will actually reset from level 1 and you'll have to start building your house all over again. So to save time, you can actually just save this blueprint of yours and then you can build your house directly. Like instead of building every single foundation, wall or ceiling again, you can just build the entire blueprint, obviously provided you actually gather all the materials. So that's the first thing I think you should do. Second is so some of the currency will be ready for you on the get-go. One of the most important one is actually Starchrom. So what you should do for Starchrom is try to make sure you have collected every single Starchrom. The main is the Stellar Gate, this one, the Stellar Stairway, sorry. So obviously for me the next phase is it's locked here. But if you can, make sure you unlock all of this before you switch. So first, to get some Starchrom before you actually leave, you want to go to your scenario and then go to your scenario challenge. So make sure you complete these challenges because you get these crates if you still haven't completed your stairway. Another one is if you go to your challenge shop and if you're in phase 6 of your server, you can actually, or whatever last phase, you can actually buy these crates. So these cost energy links and you will actually get Astrum crates. So I'm actually going to buy all of these. So that was the first thing. So since Starchrom actually is pretty rare to get and is very important for your wish machine, so make sure you can claim every single Starchrom that you can before you leave the server. The next one is currency which actually transfers is Mitsuko's marks. So for this one, once again go to your scenario and make sure you complete these scenario challenges over here, as you can see. Because once you leave the scenario, then even if you move to another level of Manibus, you can actually do this all over again. So, and since this currency will transfer, so make sure you complete and get all the marks that you can over here. The next currency that actually will transfer directly is the Stellar Planula. So these are like to purchase certain accessories or rare items from one of the vendors in settlements. So to get Stellar Planula, make sure you actually activate the Rift Anchor so you can get this currency over here. Another way is actually if you complete your commissions as well. So you can complete those, which will actually give you Stellar Planula. So the next currency I like to talk about is Sproutlets. So Sproutlets are mainly used if you talk to this person over here, Nisa. So as you can see, Sproutlets are used to buy certain items. But I think since this currency will transfer directly into your new scenario, I feel like you should actually farm these by playing either the Highway Pursuit or Cargo Conquest. This is important because I think when you move to the new scenario, you can actually buy acid or even Stardust Source from the get-go when you start your new scenario. So in my opinion, actually I'll show you also when I move to the new scenario why you should actually farm this currency if you can. So the next currency I want to talk about is energy links. So if I show you over here, so I have around like 1.84 million energy links, and the unfortunate thing is that energy links do not actually transfer. They will actually get converted into astral sand. So my tip for energy links is make sure you actually spend them. Obviously one of the ways I showed you is just to buy those Starchrom crates. The other thing what I have done is I go to each settlement and I just buy everything that can be bought by energy links. So if I go to this person over here, so I have bought everything that can, which is like a one-time use. Like example is formulas. You buy them and then you just unlock the formula. Even accessories which are available in some of the settlements, I made sure to buy all of them. Obviously buying the things which are like, these are like not very important, so I skip these. But and so that's why you want to make sure if you're short on energy links, one trick you could do is if you go to your Mimetic's Cradle, so everything over here will actually get reset. So your cradle will be lost. Even your Mimetics, it will reset from the beginning. So no point in actually saving all this. And even your Mimetic specialization will be lost. So no point doing anything here. One trick you could do is, so let's say if I go to this one, if you're short on energy links, you can just reset this entire Mimetic tree. So you'll get back ciphers, which obviously doesn't matter since you'll actually start with 0 ciphers again. But you will get back some energy links. So if you're short on energy links, you can actually do this. But I have way too much, so I'm not gonna do it. The next thing I want to talk about is your, your gear blueprints and your mods and accessories. So all of these will actually will transfer with you directly. So what you should do is before you leave, especially when easier scenarios, make sure you complete these settlements because these settlements, let's say like here. So at least make sure you do the mystical crates and rift anchors. If you can do all, it's better because these will unlock blueprints for you, which will always stay with you forever. So you might as well explore these settlements for your gear blueprints, and even maybe for some mods you might get. And speaking of mods, since mods also transfer it to you, so make sure you actually complete the, let's say, these monolith bosses, or even the silos, especially if you are able to, like example on Manabus Novice. So you might as well farm these mods, since I'm able to clear it by myself. If you can, then make sure you farm these, because these will help you create better mods using mod conversion. Another, I think, very helpful tip I would like to give you is, if I go to my backpack, so I have crafted two particular items which you must have used throughout your journey actually. So one is this advanced electric rock drill and the advanced logging chainsaw. So to get to actually craft these, go to your mimetic cradle, and in your infrastructure tab, go all the way down. So you can see there's the option for advanced drills and advanced chainsaw. So unlock both of these and craft these items. Since I will actually be bringing this in the new channel, I'll show you why it's actually pretty important. So if you can, just craft these two and make sure it's in your backpack before you actually make the switch. And the last tip I would like to give you before you actually make a switch is try to get high level deviations. Now this tip is a bit more helpful if, especially on novice servers, which I am right now, since on novice servers the bosses and all will be the easiest for you. So let's say there are certain let's say for example Lone Wolf's Whisper, which you can get by beating Shadowhound monolith boss. So since in novice servers he'll be the easiest, it will be the easiest. Make sure you can actually make sure you can maybe get a skill rating 5 Lone Wolf Whisper before you actually leave the scenario. Similarly for other deviations that you think you might use a lot, because obviously you can't transfer every single thing. So make sure you can actually farm these before you actually leave the scenario. So once you're ready to switch a scenario, so let's go and switch a scenario. So I'm just going to go to my scenario progress here, and let's go to sign up. So obviously I'll give you some details which you can read over here. So now you can see a lot of options are here available for you. Actually gonna sign up for Manabus. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of signing for a scenario which will open, let's say 2-3 days from now, I'm actually gonna jump into a scenario, into a Manabus server which is already open, so that I can actually start. And since I know what will already happens in Manabus, I don't need to like experience everything from the beginning. I've selected this, so let's sign up. So now since this scenario is actually open, I can actually just go directly to the new scenario. So let's just go. And then yeah, you'll get a warning here. Once you move to the server, you will not be able to return. So once again, make sure you click this only if you have like done everything in the server and you don't want to play in that current scenario anymore. Because once you click this confirm, you will never be able to return to your old server. So since I've done everything, let's just move on. Okay, so first you'll be greeted by this screen, and if you have, as I explained before, you can see all of this currency. Like you see, it says list of currencies. You can see Starchrom has been retained, so I will start with that much Starchrom. For energy links, you can see it says converted to astral sand. Mitsuko's marks I have got, chrono badge, starvish tokens. So all of these have been transferred, but not all of them will be ready with you. So like I said, I'll show it to you. Yeah, so these are the list of items that were not able to transfer from my current scenario. So as you can see, some of the important ones you have to notice is the solar drill and this backpack expansion. So these are actually part of mimetic specializations. So since they were tied to those got damaged. So all of these items, you can see even the mimetic specializations have been destroyed. So like I said, it's not the worst thing, because some of these are like, these you can craft again. Unfortunately, these ones you need mimetic. These were tied to mimetic specialization, that's why they got destroyed. So like I said, not the worst loss. And then this is the other tab, which is the inherit resource, which actually I'll show you how to I'll show you another way to access this instead of doing it from here directly. And then this will give you a warning. This action isn't your only chance. Like I said, I will show you how to do this from your backpack instead. So now you will actually have two options over here, either simplified or complete. Now, like for in my case, I'm moving from Manavest to Manavest. So doing what if you I choose complete, it means I have to do all the the storylines and everything again, which I don't think is really helpful. I mean, I experienced it once. If you want to experience everything again, you might as well select complete. But I think I might as well just use simplified, so I can just focus on whatever the scenario is and the bosses and all. So I'm just going to choose simplified. So if you remember the first time you started OnceHuman, you might have been in this house, which is a tutorial where you talk to Mitsuko and V. So let's again go through this tutorial. So once you do that, you will actually come to this screen where you can select your spawn area. So obviously, if you're starting off in a new scenario or you're still a bit of beginner, you might as well select the Dayton wetlands and then choose a spawn point. So let's tell you where you want to spawn. But in my case, since I've already played through Manabus and I know what happens in Manabus, I'm actually going to choose the third area. Since over here, I think I can already start farming for iron ore, which will actually help me craft steel a bit faster. So I'm going to choose this since I'm a bit more confident in myself. But if you're a new player, then choose one of the first areas. Alright, so now I've come to a new area. I mean, it's the same Manabus, but I'm just going to show you things that you might, just to show you that I'm actually in a new scenario. So if I go to my backpack, so you can see my backpack is empty. You see in my ammo, I only have some copper ammo. I just have some particular energy drinks. And then you can see I don't have much over here. But you can see some of my currency from the last scenario has come with me, which was under the item inheritance room, or what I call as direct transfer. So on the top right, if you can see my Starchrom, I have 48,000 Starchrom, which I can actually start using in the wish machine right now only. The next currency you can see is my energy links have become 0. So like I said, it's a reset, and if before you leave a scenario, like I said, that's why make sure you can spend energy links before you move. The other ones you can see my stellar Planula with me, so I can start buying accessories if I need. Even Sproutlets have come with me, and my scenario exit card. So that's why I think, so that was one thing. Alright, so even this has transferred me. These are one-time use items. These are not formulas, these are one-time use items. And even deviations did not transfer. If I go to my gear backpack, as you can see, all of my legendary gear I have had not with me, so I only have a pistol again, and I have absolutely nothing else. So that was on the backpack. If you go to Mimetic's Cradle, so as you can see, all my Mimetics have been reset if I go to every tab. So that's why saving them from the last scenario doesn't make any sense since they get reset. You can see all of my specializations have also been reset. And if I go to Cradle, you see, yeah, I can't use Cradle, so it's again I have to again unlock it. So next thing you might want to check is your gear blueprints. So as you can see, I have all my whatever gear blueprints you unlocked and whatever star rating you had, you will actually have them. So I think I have my Scar as my 6 star. Yeah, as you can see, this weapon, which was my main weapon, I have it at 6 stars from the get-go. So you don't have to collect these again. And I can directly craft this legendary scar at 6 stars at tier 1s. Similarly, whatever armor blueprints you collected are actually unlocked with you. So like I said, that's why in the last scenario, before you leave, make sure you can unlock as much as blueprints as you can. The next thing is mods. So as you can see, all my gear mods, even legendary rarity, all of the mods that I collected in my last scenario have come with me. Even the currency to use them, like to upgrade them, weapon mod parts and armor mod parts have come with me. The next is cosmetics. So as you can see, this cosmetic, which was my main cosmetic in the last scenario, everything has come with me. So the next thing I want to talk about is actually your territory. So if I go to build, so you can see if I try to build a territory, it will actually build, it will just start with this only. So let me just build a territory. Alright, so I built my territory, but as you can see, it resets everything. So unfortunately, I'll have to build everything from again. This is why if I go to my territory right now and if I go to my house blueprints, so you can see I had a blueprint which was saved as my house. And yeah, so as you can see, obviously I had built mine using marble, but since obviously marble is not accessible now, it will actually show me how much wood and all I need. So this is why instead of rebuilding everything again from scratch, once you can farm all of these resources, then that is why you can actually rebuild it from the, like, you don't have to rebuild everything. What I'm saying is just get all these materials and instantly rebuild your house instead of doing it manually. Now obviously the last or the most, I think the main important thing is where have all your items gone. So let's go to a backpack, and as you can see I showed you before, my backpack is actually empty. So what you do is at the bottom of your screen there is a paradise type icon besides your backpack. This is which is your Spacetime, your Eternaland backpack. So if I click on this, now you can see everything I have is actually here. So let's scroll. So you can see all my calibration blueprints. Then if I go to my, like, say the food, the consumable items, like you can see all my food items are here. Fish, some of the, like this, all these items are here. Similarly, if I go here, you can see all my raw materials are here. So like, all my wood, even the silver, gold ores, sulfur, so everything is right here. Even acid. And even Stardust ore. So actually, I forgot to talk about it. So Stardust ore does not actually transfer with you directly. Then okay, special items there's nothing. In construction, okay, I think these are my Eternaland ones, so that's why it's here. And lastly, even all my deviations are here. So once you are in your this Eternaland backpack, so what you can do is to get the resources to your new scenario, click on inherit resources, which are at the center of the screen, which will pop up this menu. So very first thing you need to note is it will say on the right hand side, it says send to scenario server manibus and then X. So this is my current scenario, and if you notice below that there's a number which says 20,000 out of 20,000. So this is the currency that you need to spend to actually get the items from Eternaland to your current scenario, and this is why I call this as indirect transfer. Obviously your first thought might be like, I want to get everything, but unfortunately you won't have enough currency to get. So I'm pretty sure the first thing you all might be thinking is to get your weapon. So if I go here, so this was my main weapon in my last scenario. So you can see it's a 6-star tier 5 calibration 10 weapon, and I even changed the calibration blueprint. So this is like my perfect gun. And you might be thinking, why not just get this weapon so you can have a easier start. So let's click on deposit and see what happens. So as you can see, just for this one weapon, it has consumed 11,000 of the token, which is very, very expensive. And one of the reasons it's not even useful is because if I click on the weapon again, so to use a tier 5 weapon, you actually need to, it says required weapon level is 40, and I've actually reset to level 1. So it means even if I get this weapon to my new scenario, you won't be able to use it until you get to level 40. It will happen maybe towards the mid or end game. So you are literally transferring a weapon for 11,000 of that currency. I don't even know what it's called, but which you won't be able to use. Another problem is, since you're starting in a lower tier area, you won't even have the materials to even repair this gun once it loses its durability. So that is why, in my opinion, do not transfer weapons. The same goes for armor. So let's see how much an armor costs. So let's say I want to transfer this. So So you can see this armor costs 5,000, and it's just not worth it to use, because once again it's a tier 5. So to repair this armor, you need tier 5 materials, which you probably won't even have access to, since as you can see in my territory everything is reset. So then the question is, what should you transfer? One thing I think you should transfer is this, the advanced rock drill. So I can see this one costs only 2,500, and the other one is the advanced logging chainsaw. So almost you could say almost 5,000 have been spent just on these two items. The reason I say these two items are pretty important is because if you remember the first time you played OnceHuman, and you had to start from very basic. So one of the most, you could say, annoying features was to keep farming. So you had to either chop down trees for wood, or you had to like smash ores to get the, let's say, copper ore, and then smelt them into copper ingots and etc. But thing is, the pickaxes are very slow. So instead of the pickaxe, if you use these two items, it'll be really fast, and you can actually speed up your early game. So just to show you why, so let me just bring these two items for now, and once let's just click confirm. Yeah, so it'll ask you for a confirmation transfer, so let's just confirm. So now if I go to my regular backpack, as you can see, I have both of my items. And just to show you why it's easy, so like example, let's say I have reset, right? Now let's go to a tree. There, as you can see, instead of using a pickaxe to slowly chop wood, I can just use my chainsaw. Similarly, this will be helpful for ore. So let's say there's an ore right here. Oh, and as you can see, I have a Digby boy to catch, which I'll explain a bit. So this is, since it's a level 1, I think I might just ignore it. So that's why these two items I think should be a must. It will help you in farming, especially since you don't have access to most of the stuff now, like your mining platforms or deviations, which I think I'll talk about right now. So obviously one of the most important things which actually helps you in your journey are actually deviations. But unfortunately they don't directly transfer it to you, and you have to spend points. So one deviation, let's see how much it costs. So this deviation costs 400. And let's see actually if all of them cost the same. Okay, so deviations cost 400. I just had a test on all of them. And now before you actually select the deviations to transfer, unfortunately I cannot give you the best tips for this, because it depends on the type of player you are. Just for example, I'll give you, let's say maybe if you're a person who likes doing agricultural stuff, like farming, so you might as well think that you might get a buzzy bee, and you might get a grow shroom. So where's the grow shrooms? So you might get one of your grow shrooms as well. But like for me, example, I never did farming, so maybe grow shroom and buzzy bee is not for me. Another type of player you might be thinking is, let's say you don't have enough time to invest in the game, so which means you cannot you have to, whenever you play the game, you might only think that you'll only invest time in doing the task, or like the the main goals, which means you cannot invest time in farming. So for that, I would suggest you either bring a logging beaver and a Digby boy. And another one could be is, maybe you could be a type of player that in Manibus, some of the deviations you unlock really late. Like for example, Lone Moose Wilspur, which is a really good deviation, a combat deviation, but the problem is you unlock it in the 4th monolith boss, which could take some time. So maybe you want to bring this with you. So just to show you, I'm gonna actually bring one of them. Let's see which one should I bring. So maybe in my case, since I don't wanna invest a lot of time in farming, especially early game, I'm gonna bring a logging beaver. And also in this one, try to make sure you bring a high skill rating one. That's why previously I told, before you leave the scenario, you might as well farm for this. So I'm gonna bring a 5 skill rating logging beaver, and I do have a 5 skill rating Digby boy, but I think I'm gonna bring one of my shiny ones since it's 4. So let's say after I've decided this, I can just click on confirm. So now if I check my backpack, I actually have these items with me which I can use and start passively farming from the get-go. This is obviously if you're a type of player who cannot invest a lot of hours in the game, so you might as well bring these 2 deviations to help you early game. Now coming back to this inherent resource screen over here, you might be thinking that you still have a lot of points and you might want to bring some other things. So obviously don't bring ammo. I mean, it's all worth it. Similarly, all these tactical items I don't think should be brought. I think one thing you might be thinking is to bring fuel. So let's see how much one fuel costs. So just for one fuel it costs 10 of this currency. So I mean, unless you want fuel, I don't think it's really worth bringing because it costs a lot. Similarly, one of the other items I think you might be thinking to bring is, so I think 2 of the other most important items which you obviously need for endgame is acid. So let's see how much acid costs. So just one acid costs 8 of this currency. And the other very important, you could say currency, is Stardust Source. So let's see how much just one Stardust. So one Stardust Source costs 3 of this. Now, I mean, if you don't have anything to transfer, you still have a lot of points, you might as well bring this. But in my opinion, I think there's a better way. So if I look to in my backpack, so you see one of the currencies which I have a lot is this Sproutlet, which I actually found before. So I have around over 6,000. So what you can do is just go to a settlement and talk to Nisa and actually buy acid and Stardust Source to help you early game if you want. In my opinion, I think that's better. But in case you have nothing to do, then you might as well, you could bring it from your previous scenario if you need a boost. But I think it's better to just go to Nisa and buy it using Sproutlets. And yeah, that's it. So depending on how much water you want to bring, you could bring. Just remember, also yeah, one more thing I forgot. So you might be thinking that you have to spend all your 20,000 points right now, which is not the case. As you can see, I've been accessing the backpack. I just accessed the backpack twice, right? The first time to bring the chainsaws, and then the other one to bring the 2 deviations. So my tip for this is that don't spend all your 20,000 points right now. So I've already spent like around 6k right now, and just play the scenario. Since I moved to Manibus, I know what happens. But let's say if you move to a brand new scenario like Endless Dream or Way of Winter, you might struggle in some parts because they might have some key features or which are not suitable, or you might have not experienced. Like maybe in Way of Winter you might be dying of cold a lot. So maybe then you might want to bring something to adjust to that scenario. So that's why don't spend all the points, and only when you need them. Let's say maybe after a week or 2 in a scenario, you might realize, okay, you need this, you're struggling with this resource, or you might need this deviation. Then you can access the backpack and then bring the whatever item or deviation or whatever you need in a later stage. So that's why you should save these currency, because unlike other currencies, these currencies do not refresh. You get 20,000, nothing less, nothing more, and they will never refresh. So you have to use this very smartly. And yeah, that's all about switching scenarios. Hopefully you could understand what switching scenario is, why you might want to switch, and how you can actually prepare before you switch. So I give some tips. Obviously if you don't have time, then you might as well switch directly. And most importantly, what happens when you switch to a new scenario. So you can see what the currencies, like resources I lost, which weren't a lot and weren't very important, and what all you could do once you start a new scenario over here. And yeah, thanks for watching.